Breaking right now, police mobilizing once again on the streets of Baltimore, Maryland. This afternoon, some conflicting reports about another shooting involving a black man and police moments ago. Now, Baltimore police tweeting that the reports of a man shot are not true. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Kleffler in New York. Police in riot gear are standing in formation. They're blocking out the streets near North and Pennsylvania Avenue in Baltimore. I want to go to ABC's Steve Osunsami, who's on the phone with us. Steve, what do we know?
You know, we're hearing from police that this isn't quite what we had initially suspected. There were some reports of someone who was a black man who was shot multiple times. That report from another news organization that turns out to be deeply incorrect. That news organization has corrected themselves, and police are trying to get the message out. What we know so far is that the suspect police were trying to arrest, we're told, actually, according to the authorities, was giving up and had a gun, and we're not sure if he threw the gun or dropped the gun, but at some point the gun went off, and that was the gunfire that was heard and was misinterpreted. Police called, there you can see paramedics that were called to the scene. We are told by police that the owner of that gun is uninjured. We're still trying to get more information about this arrest, but it does not appear at all to be the type of situation that, you know, was advertised just a few minutes ago.
Okay, so the good news, the bottom line is that we know at this point there doesn't appear to be anyone injured, is the bottom line on this.
There doesn't appear to be anyone injured. Okay. It does not appear to be the type of incident that, doesn't appear to be in any way related to the protests and demonstrations that have been taking place here. It is in the same neighborhood where some of the looting took place last week. However, that is a troubled neighborhood, and a neighborhood where police are often called for various incidents, and this appears to be one of them.
Okay, and Steve, I'm putting you on the spot here, and I apologize for that, but I know it's still fluid. We don't know exactly why police were responding to this in the first place, right?
No, we don't know. All we're hearing from police is they were responding to a warrant of some sort, that they were trying to make an arrest, and that this person was in the process of giving up in relation to that arrest, and that's when the gunfire went off. But what we do know is this does not appear to be a protest or demonstration-related incident. That, I think we can say pretty certainly.
Okay, all right. Well, we appreciate the clarification on this, because obviously it is a city that's been under great attention lately, and clearly something like this coming out, it's important to be very careful with the information. And Steve, we appreciate all the reporting that you've been doing on this, and obviously clearing this all up because of those conflicting reports, in fact, that there was some kind of a shot fired. But now that we're hearing from the police department of Baltimore itself, in fact, that it appears at this time that a gun went off, that there is not anyone injured from this, and we're taking a look at a live shot of a pretty significant, though, police response. Steve, where are you at in relation? I know you probably can't see exactly what we've got up right now, but we do have an aerial picture of the area that's been.
We are about, I'd say about 3-4 blocks from that intersection, heading north to that intersection, and actually, I think that's it right there, right? So it's about 2 to 3 blocks. We're 2 to 3 blocks away. Traffic, as you can imagine, is backed up because as police deal with this, you know, even though it's very clear that this doesn't appear to be, the significant event that some had feared a few minutes ago, you know, police are still, of course, responding very carefully to incidents like these. And that's why I think you see the streets blocked off and the police who've shown up. But I can tell you that just in looking around, there are not a ton of people on the streets in this neighborhood in the way that we've seen in the past few weeks, and that this city has pretty much returned to normal. Today was a very quiet day until, of course, this happened.
Steve, are you still there? I apologize.
Hearing anything?
I think we've Steve, I'm sorry. Did we lose you, Steve?
Okay, I hear you again.
Okay, I apologize for that. You were giving kind of a background from where this is at, and we were seeing, as there was a wider shot of this, this is the area where that CVS drugstore had been looted in those first couple of hours after the demonstrations and protests started breaking out in Baltimore. And at this point, the Associated Press is reporting that this was from a gun charge arrest. That was the cause of all this. Steve, the curfew's been lifted in the city, right?
The curfew was lifted. Last night was the first night without a curfew, and there was not a single incident. It was a peaceful night in this city, peaceful even by Baltimore standards, given the the numbers of incidents that happen here a week. The curfew has been lifted. Restaurants are going to be open tonight, and I imagine that the curfew is going to remain lifted. I don't think this is going to change anything because, again, all indications are this had nothing to do with any protest or demonstrator, no one was shot in this incident. There was no one hurt.
Okay.
And certainly no one shot by a police officer, according to police at this point.
Right, okay. And the curfew's lifted. Is it still a state of emergency being called then for the city? And what about the National Guard?
No, the National Guard is on their way home. The National Guard is packing up and leaving. The police in riot gear have taken off their riot gear for the most part, except for this particular incident, just as a precaution. But the police state that you are describing does not exist here as of, I want to say, this weekend, when it started. The mood here has changed completely. The charges filed against these officers has changed the mood on the streets and changed the righteous indignation that many people felt they had here before those charges. So, but that police state that you're thinking of is not here today.
Okay. All right, Steve Osunsami with us on the ground there in Baltimore. Steve, thank you for that. I want to go over to our crime and terror analyst, Brad Garrett, watching all of this. Brad, look at the response from something like this, and as we've just been hearing, and we've been hearing from the police department there, that it does not appear that they are saying that there were no shots that were fired, that if in fact there was a gunshot, it was because of possibly the gun going off after it was dropped or tossed. But the bottom line being, in fact, that there were earlier reports that there might have been shots fired. That does not seem to be the case now. But you look at the response, though, obviously it's pretty sizable.
It is sizable, Dan, and I think the reason for that is the obvious, that Baltimore is still a very tentative or tenuous place. And so when the police have anything to do with a gun and a gun going off, they're probably going to overreact from a manpower standpoint. You know, this is another example, I suppose, of something that occurs daily in most urban cities, is people with guns that the police chase. Fortunately, nobody got shot. And as you mentioned earlier, in other media venues are reporting that this guy dropped the gun. It hit the ground. It went off. But that was the only shot that was fired. So I'm going to assume that that's all there is to this, and that people are going to go about their business. The problem is, if you get a crowd fired up thinking that somebody else again has been shot by the police, that could be an issue. Hopefully it won't, and the police are going to be able to be transparent about this person they apparently transported to the hospital. I don't know if he was hurt. They did that out of just an abundance of caution or what, but they're going to need, through their PIO or somebody, to stand up in front of a camera and explain exactly what you and I are speculating about at this point.
To clarify that, to diffuse any kind of a potential situation that could erupt just from not having the information, but by simply going on maybe the pure number of crowds that are out there.
Well, exactly. I mean, though things have died down, National Guard apparently has gone, it's still a place that's very tentative. And based on what's happened, obviously, in the last week or so, it could, reignite. And the last thing, obviously, the Baltimore police is for that to occur.
All right. Our crime and terror analyst, Brad Garrett. Brad, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Keep up with the story in real time by downloading the ABC News app, starring the story for updates on the go. I'm Dan Kleffler in New York.